Hey there, everybody. Yesterday, after my little demonstration of Emmet, I got a few personal messages from some of you asking me to explain a little bit more about how Emmet works. So that's what I decided to do for today's video. I'm going to show you how to use Emmet. Now, Emmet, basically, once again, for those of you who do not know what Emmet is just a plugin, a tool and it's available for just about all your favorite integrated development environments or text editors. And you can plug it in, and what Emmet does is it helps you type shortcuts for HTML tags and things like that. So here's how you work with Emmet. The general way for using Emmet is, and here's the best part, in Visual Studio Code, it's already automatically included. So you can go ahead and start using it if you're using Visual Studio Code. Okay, so here's how Emmet works. You can start off with any tag name. Like, for example, if you would like to have a paragraph, for example, and this paragraph has a class. Remember how in CSS, when you wanted to specify a class name, you would basically say dot and then followed by the class name, right? Well, in Emmet, you can say, I would like a paragraph with a class attached to it. Let's say this class is called my style or something like that. And just by typing in that and you're pressing tab, what Emmet does is it completes the whole code by creating that paragraph right there with the class my style. Now you can also do multiple things, like for example, let's say I would like to have an anchor tag that says it has a button class, and you can actually combine classes. So let's say I want to have the button class and also another class called large, whatever that means, because we haven't created the CSS for that. But just by doing that and pressing tab after that, ta-da! As you can see, you've just created an anchor tag with a class button space large. So you've combined two classes right there. And here's the thing. Emmet assumes that the tag that you would like to create is always a div tag. So if you don't specify anything, let's say for example, if I don't specify I want a bold tag, I just basically just say I want a tag with the class container in it, just like that. Well, Emmet goes ahead and assumes that you are looking for a div with a class container. Just to refresh your memory, div is basically well, think of it as like an empty box. You can put whatever you want in it. It's kind of like a paragraph, but yeah, people tend to use it for a lot more things. Okay, now what else can you do with Emmet? Well, a few things. Now I'm going to show you, what if I wanted to, whatchamacallit, I wanted to have like nested tags. Okay, like for example, I would like to have a paragraph, and inside that paragraph, I would like to use the paragraph as a, with a class container, for example, and within that class, within the paragraph tag, I would like to have a bold tag. And inside the bold tag, I would like to have an italicized tag. So anytime you use those greater than symbols, that basically means I would like to have a child element in there. So this is what happens if I press tab. Ta-da! As you can see, paragraph followed by bold followed by italicized. Now, that's how you can put a child in there. Now, if you want to have a sibling, let's say for example, I would like to have a div tag. So I'm going to say div, and inside the div tag, I would like to have two anchor tags. So I'll say anchor plus anchor. That means I would like to have inside the div, I'd like to have two anchor tags, and this is what happens. Oops, sorry, I meant to say tab. I went and hit the enter key instead. So I'm going to hit tab, and there you go. As you can see, I have a div tag. Let me just arrange it so you can see it a little bit easier. Two anchor tags and a div tag right after that. Okay, so makes life a little bit easier. Now what if I wanted to have content in there? Well, that's easy enough. Let's say, for example, again, I'm going to use a div tag since we're on a roll over here. And I'm going to have a div tag, and I'm going to say some style over here, just so you can get used to the idea of seeing a class in there. So inside the div, I would like to have, let's say, for example, an anchor tag. But inside the anchor tag, I'm going to say curly braces, and inside the anchor tag, I would like to have the value of, let's say, Google, for example, right? And by pressing tab, watch this, ta-da! As you can see, the anchor tag has the content with the value of Google. And you can do actually quite a few things with this. I can actually say something like this. I would like to have an anchor tag with, Google. And do you remember in CSS when we wanted to put a value to an attribute? Well, it's the same thing with Emmet over here. The attribute is, again, square brackets. And let's say I would like to have the attribute called href, right? And href, I'm going to say, is the value of http://www.google.com, something like that. And then after that, well, I won't do any after that, but that's just to give you an example. So I'm creating an anchor tag where there's an attribute href that's equal to http google.com, and then the text that I want to put in between the anchor tags, the opening and closing tag, is Google. Now if I press tab, oops, sorry, I meant to do this. If I press tab, this is what happens. Ta-da! Pretty simple, right? Now there's a few more things you can do for this. I'm going to now show you can actually group some tags together. Like for example, let's say I would like to group a bunch of tags over here. So I want to have a div. And inside that div, I would like to have a h1. And the h1 is going to have a value of first header, for example. And then I'm going to say sibling to that, I'm going to put a plus sign over here, I'm going to create another group, let's say, and I want to have a div, and this div will also have a h1 in there, and the h1 will have a content of second header. And if I press tab, ta-da! Pretty cool, right? So this is just a way of creating shortcuts. Now there's one more thing you can do with Emmet, and that is you can actually repeat. Repeat certain tags. Like for example, let's say for example you are creating an unordered list. For those of you who are just learning HTML, this is how you can actually put bullet points in there. And ordered lists, within the ordered list, let's say I want to have a list item tag in there. And I want to have 3 or let's say 5 list item tags. So I say *5 or *5, which is basically means multiply by 5. And if I hit tab, this is what I get. Okay? Now, let's say I want to put content into there. Let's go ahead and do that again. So let's say I want to have an unordered list, and in there I would like to have a list item, right? And for every list item, I would like to have some content in there. And let's say the content is item, and then we'll put a $sign right there. Okay? Now what the $sign represents is essentially a number. So I can actually specify a number over there, and I'm going to say multiplied by, let's say, 4, for example. Ta-da! And you can see 1, 2, 3, 4. Pretty nifty, huh? Okay, so that's essentially a brief guide as to how you might use Emmet. I wish you all a lot of fun using Emmet. As you can see, it's a very nifty tool, and it will complete a lot of your HTML that much more quicker. Okay, so I'll see you in another video.
Hey everybody, thank you so much for watching. If you liked what you saw, please subscribe. Also, check out the links below. And if you'd like me to cover something else, please leave a comment down below.